Bhunaktu Sahaviryamkaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastuma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari Tulyam Nijantargatam Pashyan Atmani Mayaya Bhairibodbhutam Yatha Nidraya Yat Sakshat Kurute Prabodha Samaye Swatmanam Evadvayam Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshina Murtaye. So welcome you to start this journey of studying the entire import of Vedanta, called the Vision and Promise of Vedanta, in this new series of classes on Tuesday night. As you know, the genesis of these classes was started in the two-day retreat held last month, which basically featured two things. One was a study of Vedanta aimed at experienced students. Secondly, the teaching was focused on the principles of Vedanta and not on any specific texts. It was rather short, but the way it was done, I think, was well received. And I thought that we should now expand that into a series. So we will do the following. This is what the plan is. Number one, keep the same methodology of teaching, which is to lead with concepts, not the verses of a particular text. Bring the verses in whenever something needs to be emphasized, something needs to be verified, some references, some linkages. All of that will be doing a lot. And sometimes I think we could even veer off and take small portions of a text, as we have done in the Saturday class with Kena Upanishad. Yeah, we could do that. But the main idea will be to really focus on the important concepts of Vedanta that many of you are already quite familiar with, and we would now kind of consolidate that in a single class. Number three, as I've already mentioned, I would encourage you to take notes from these classes, optionally. If you could kindly please do that, I think it'll be very beneficial. Many of the students have said that they are already doing it, or they have done it in the past. I can tell you that writing things down just makes a big difference. We've talked about it already. So I would like to encourage you to take notes, but take notes in a very structured manner, as we will go through very shortly. In fact, what I would like to encourage you to do is to facilitate the development of your own personal Introduction to Vedanta book, a booklet. Don't be scared by a big book or anything. It could be just a thin book, or it could be, depends on you, how voluminous you want to make it. But it is your written notes on Introduction to Vedanta. So it's not something that I am telling you to do, but based on the concepts that we would be discussing, I think it'll be wonderful if you can pen them down in the way you would like to do it. So it becomes a personal, not just a diary, but a personal book of what the principles of Vedanta are. And as we will be seeing, that you have uh, complete, you know, independence on how you structure it. Um, we can make some notes for you, but I think you can group the notes separately, give different subtitles to them, chapters. All is that up to you. But I think if you do that, you put the personal touches to that, it would really have a lot of effect on your own understanding. And of course, in addition to that, if you ever decide to teach a course, this you will be ready for it. The book will allow you to have the underpinnings of a teaching mechanism that you can use. So I think that would be wonderful. Lastly, what I would encourage you to do, which I have already talked about it before, is that there are two steps that you can take for the understanding of Sanskrit. One is to actually learn the grammar. And learning the grammar is not easy. It's a difficult grammar, as many of you already know. And several of you have made attempts. Some of you have been somewhat successful, maybe more successful than I understand. But the other step you can do is to not to attempt to understand the grammar, but to understand the words that are used in our teaching. So the Sanskrit words are incomparable. There is nothing that comes close to it. Translations do not come close to it. And whether you do that in Devanagari or you write it in your own language, English, you can write it in Tamil or Kannada, Bengali, if you like, whatever but it should be the Sanskrit word. So as you know, we have offered this glossary by John Warren, and I think that this is very beautiful. You already discovered that. I thought about it. It was kind of lying in the back of my mind, and when I said this would be a good objective, I thought that I will bring it out. I requested him. He was very happy to share that with you. John is a very important person in our family of Gurukulam of Swami Dayanandji. He was a very active, very loyal student of Swami Dayanandji. He really would not miss any class, and he was excellent in really understanding the concepts, the words, and he's done a great job in creating this glossary. He was also, I think many of you know this, he was the photographer for our Gurukulam and for Swamiji. And his compilation of photographs is just amazing. I don't know what he plans to do about it one of these days, but every time he goes on a trip, he just sends me dozens of beautiful photographs, even in temples. He goes to Rishikesh very often. He married a Rishikesh girl, and he settled here in the Bay Area. So very, very thankful to him for this glossary. And so I think that will be of great help to you. In fact, lastly, what I would say is that in addition to referring to the words in this glossary, you should, as part of developing your own personal book, be comfortable in interspersing English language or your own language, whatever language you're going to use to develop your booklet with Sanskrit words. I have I use it on my desktop, and I've been doing it for the last 5-6 years. And I use this software called Baraha, Baraha, and from India. I haven't really, I haven't edited it for the last few years, but it's still working out very well. And it is a beautiful software. And what it enables me to do, just to give you an idea, I can take I can write a text, and then by simply one keyboard, I can switch it over from English to Sanskrit, and then I can toggle it back again. So I can write a sentence, toggle it, write a Sanskrit word, toggle it again, and go back to English. Very nice. But I think that this is somewhat old, but at least I think it's more than that, maybe 10 years, 12 years. But there are lots of other software. Raj Paripatyadar had sent me a couple of software things that you can use in Google and others also. So that we will give you some software help in being able to do that. But I highly recommend that you...
I understand that you're interested in receiving software. However, as an AI language model, I cannot...
I have Gemini on Google. So as soon as I said Google, it picked up, and he's giving me an answer. By the way, I think I was telling you this. I used Gemini very, very nicely when I was researching the particular verse in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad for the source of light. And I wasn't sure, but I just simply said, hey, Gemini. I don't know how to pronounce it, Gemini or Gemini. I have an Upanishad that has this concept. Can you please tell me where this verse is? Within seconds, it said, chapter 4, verse number such and such. Very impressive. Really, I think that we can utilize it very much. Anyway. So anyway, that is those are the elements of what I think that these series of classes should encompass. Those are the ones that we are going to build on. And if you like, we will work on that. Now, in the last 2 weeks since we've had the last class, I have given this whole series of classes a little bit more thought. And I'm making an adjustment that I want to present to you. And here is the reasons why I'm making this adjustment. I thought that if you're going to be developing an introduction to Vedanta, your own personal book, if you're going to do that, it needs to also include the basics of Vedanta. See, in the October retreat that we didn't cover the basics. There was no time for it. It was really meant for people that have been studying Vedanta for a while. But if you're going to be developing a book that you can teach it to a variety of different people, some experienced people or some introductory people, introduction to people who have not studied Vedanta, you need to have a broad swath of concepts, not just the advanced concepts. So the adjustment I am going to make is that when we present the tenets of Advaita Vedanta, which I will start today itself, we will also include some of the basic concepts of Vedanta, which you may already be familiar with. And so to that extent, I think it's not going to be new information for you. But at the same time, you can record it very quickly and include that in your book so that you have a more complete explanation of what Vedanta is. This is the adjustment that I thought we will do, and I hope you're okay with it. I really want to have two objectives for this course, of this series of courses. You know, I think that the primary objective is still for you as an experienced student. I haven't forgotten that, and I'm not going to compromise on that. So we will come to that sooner or later. But I think we're going to start with in first gear, slowly, and then slowly build up. Now, I would say one thing. In many of the concepts that we're going to be discussing, even the basic concept, which I'll take one of them today. I don't know if I'll have time to do more than one, but I'll take one of them. Even there, even though it may sound like a basic concept, there will be some advanced aspects of that you should make a note of. So this is one thing. In other words, there are some basic concepts that will have both basics as well as advanced aspects to it. There will be other concepts that are purely advanced and not basic, and we will come to that. So eventually we will cover a lot of material. I'm very excited to do so, and I hope you're ready for that. Okay, you know what I was thinking? If you're okay with it, let me pause and take my laptop out and see if you have any comments or questions. Normally I do that only at the end of the class, but today and perhaps at other times also, let me try to do that in the middle of the class in case there are some questions that I can answer for you before we go further. Okay? So let me go to YouTube. All right, so I see your names, and what I would do is to pause for a few minutes and just look at to see if you have any questions or comments, and I will try to answer them before we go further. Okay, so I'm just going to be quiet and give you some time to think about it, and let me know. Just let me see who's all here. Good. Jaya, say I have also made a glossary of terms. Very good. So comment for Jen. I'm very happy that she's part of this course. She's of course an excellent writer, and in the past she has actually summarized the class in writing that you can take a look at. what I would like to ask Jen is not to do that. And you could understand why. I would like each of the students to develop their own writing and not really borrow from anyone. So from that perspective, I think that, of course, you're going to have your own, Jen. I'm sure you'll do a very good job of that. But let everybody else do that on their own. Okay. I don't see any questions per se, so I hope that it's very clear. All right. Keshav says, understanding Gita message is difficult, I think. Not sure what you mean. It may appear to be difficult, but my job and your job is to make it easy. And that's what we will attempt to do. So I wouldn't really characterize anything as being difficult or easy. It's interesting, this topic of difficulty or ease had come up many times in our study with Swami Dayanandji. And this topic is raised by students. Swamiji, it's very difficult. You can understand it, but I don't, and this, that, or the other. And Swamiji used to invariably answer these discussions of the topic with the following. He said, and this is Swami Akhandananda also really, we will go into this in much more detail on this point. Let me ask you, Keshav, I'm actually addressing you and everybody else. As you are you difficult or easy? I'm not saying doing something is difficult or easy. There, it is very relevant. One can say, climbing Mount Everest is very difficult. I can't do that. One of my friends, some time ago, when she turned 70, she said, I'm going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. She did that. So climbing Kilimanjaro could be considered difficult or easy. Different kind of things can be difficult or easy, but you, not separate from you, are you difficult or easy? See how ridiculous that question is? So also Vedanta and Swami Dayananda and Akhandananda ji and all these people, they used to say, he says, you are neither difficult nor easy. You are what you are. But you are taking yourself to be something totally different from what you are. Drop it. Listen to what is being said. That's not easy or difficult. It's just your own sankalpa that I will completely understand who I am. That's not difficult. You don't have to do anything. Anyway, you have another question here. Manushya, please explain. I will do that when the time comes. So let me proceed along the way I would All I asked for was the questions about the structure of the class and not about specific topics. So we will proceed along those lines. Okay, so with that, let me shut my... Yeah, the deeper meaning of a person, and this is what we are doing. So you, the Atma, that is the deeper meaning of Manushya, of human being. If you want to call it that, you are the real meaning of Manushya. So this is what we are doing. All right, so let me shut this off and begin with the very first concept, which I hope will take not much time, but maybe we'll see a second concept as well. So in the WhatsApp message that I had sent a few days ago, I had made a comment that my presentation of many of these what I would call tenets of Advaita Vedanta will be like jigsaw puzzle pieces, and they may not necessarily form a sequence. It's like, when someone dumps 100 pieces of a jigsaw puzzle, you don't look for a sequence. You can start anywhere and start putting them together, and then they will form a sequence as you go along. So in a very similar way, my temptation is, which I kind of did in the 2-day retreat, was to just give it to you, whether they are related or not, and the relationship will take time. Okay, that's what I was thinking I would do, is make it easier for me. But then I thought, we should do a hybrid. Yes, there will be places, time when I will give you all these concepts to think about, but there should be some kind of a beginning, so that when you are teaching or when you are developing a book, you do have a structure of some kind. So this is what I was meant to say. So in that sense, I thought I would begin with some kind of a beginning. It's like, if you were teaching a class, what would you do if you're going to discuss this with someone? So I'm going to start with that. But later on, I may juggle these topics so that they're not completely in sequence, because that sequence will depend very much on who you're teaching and what circumstance you're teaching, whether you do in a very long way or in a very short way. All of that will come later. But let me start with let me sort of like saying, beginning with the beginning. Okay. So this is the first one. Is it necessary for one to know where one is going before embarking on it? Just pose this question to yourself and to anybody else that you're explaining. Is it necessary for you to know what your destination is before you begin? It's very obvious that one does. Because if let's say you go to a train station and tell the person who's handing out tickets, just give me a ticket. And the person says, where to? And you say, I don't know. Just give it to me. First of all, he won't give it to you because he needs to know which. He's got lots of tickets and he doesn't know which one to give you. Secondly, there is a line forming behind you and you'll say, please, can you get aside? Because he'll think he's some crazy person. And that doesn't happen. You have to say, I need to go to such and such place. Can you give me a ticket for that? So now if we examine our lives, examine each one of us, every one of us, you and I both, we're all very busy in one form or the other, very busy. How are you doing these days? Oh, I'm very busy. And you are. You are. The only time you're not busy is if you're in a hospital. Other than that, and you don't like to be in a hospital because you like to be busy. You like to be doing things in one form or the other. Even if you take a small rest, you watch a movie, even that is doing something. But after the movie's over, then you say, okay, now what do I do? So we are moving all the time, going somewhere all the time. But where? Where are we going? That's the question. No one is all, not all the people are going in one direction. If that happens, then that's just for a short amount of time, very temporary, like a Kumbh Mela. I think the Westerners, people from the West areas, if they ever go to a Kumbh Mela, they are just going to be crazy about the size of crowd. Everybody, what is it, something like 10 or 12 lakhs of people all gather together, more than that, I think. Amazing. So there is a collection of people that go there. So there we can say, yes, people are going to a single destination. But if you look at the life around us, everybody is going in a different direction. If you look at the freeway, that's a very fascinating thing to do. You find that a major freeway like 101 or 280 from San Jose to San Francisco, half the people are going in one direction and the other people are going in the other direction. You're going somewhere and the other people are going away from that place. Everybody's going in a different direction. Do we know where we are going? It is kind of like going without knowing. Yeah, we have some specific things that we want to do. This is what I have to go to San Francisco to visit my son who lives there. I'm there for 2-3 hours, and then after that we come back. Yeah, so there is some specificity on specific objectives. But overall in our life, because we are all doing something, but we're not sure exactly where it's all leading us. And the funny part is that the definition of being lost is that after moving around, you come back to the same place that you were sometime before that. If you were moving into a new place, never to revisit the old one can understand. But the definition of going around in circles is very evident. Because what we find is that we actually come back to the same thing that we have done before and start all over again. We begin the same day, every day with the same kind of a thing, same bed. I have to see this one. I was reading this Brahma Sutra, if I can find it. quickly, I forgot. Ah, yes, found it. So this is a book by Swami Akhandananda. I've actually read it. There are three pravachanas, three of them, of the 4 sutras. And I think I've read this about 4 times in the last 6 months. It's so enjoyable. It's just amazing. And I just finished the 3rd one a couple of days ago, and I started on the first one again. And the funny part is, and this is how one grows, I find that if I really like something, if something really strikes me, I underline it with my pencil. Never with a pen, but with a pencil. This pencil. This is not the ordinary pencil, but this mechanical pencil. And then if I want to erase it, I can. I hardly ever erase it. But the funny part is that every time I read it again, it gives me new areas to underline that I had not done before. That amazes me. I just read it like 6 months ago. Shouldn't I? It's not a complete revision. But in the meantime, I've grown. This is what I find. Anyway, all this is extraneous. So here I had not underlined this until I read this. So here Swami Akhandananda says, the first sutra of Brahma Sutra, which we have done before and we are all familiar with it, is Athato Brahma Jigyasa. That's the first one. Atha Brahma Jigyasa. Therefore, there is a desire to know Brahman. This is the first one. This I was familiar with. What he said next, I was not familiar with until he pointed this out. It's relevant to what I'm talking about. Here's what it says. Antima mantra of Brahma Sutra is Anavritti Shabdat, Anavritti Shabdat. Anavritti Shabdat, Anavritti Shabdat. Anavritti. And then he explains what it means. Beautiful. He says the last mantra or shloka here, because Brahma Sutra is not part of the Upanishad. It's a commentary on the Upanishad. So in the Upanishads, shlokas are called mantras. So technically a shloka, but doesn't matter. The ending one is Anavritti Shabdat. This is amazing. Anavritti means you don't come back. You leave. Shabdat means by mere words, by the virtue of words, you don't come back. I had not really read that until he pointed this out in an introduction. This is an introduction to Brahma Sutra that I'm beginning again. Remarkable. What it means is the nature of the human being is that we are lost. It's not the nature of the human being, but despite the fact that we are free, we don't understand it, and again we try to come back to understand what is going on. So every birth is a sign of avritti. Avritti means repetition. And within the life itself there is a repetition. So that's what I was saying, that the sign of being lost is repetition. And the only way that you will not come back, you don't need to come back. You're already there. You see, that's the thing. You're already there, but you don't understand it, so you go somewhere. It's a very funny thing. It's like saying, you know, I'm unhappy at this moment, but if I did something else, I will be happier. So you go somewhere to rediscover yourself. You go there and you find, I'm still unhappy. Let me go someplace else. So you keep on looking for yourself at different places at different times when you are what you are. You just sit down and understand that. That's all that you need to do. But instead, this is the exact, we are going to have this discussion in much more detail about karma and jnanam. You need jnanam, but you don't understand that, so you substitute that with karma. So this is what is called avritti. So Badarayana, the writer of Brahma Sutra, says that the result of Shabda Jnanam, the Guru saying, hey, wait. You don't have to go anywhere. Just look at yourself. The way you should be looking. You're not looking. You're not focusing on it. You're looking everywhere else except for yourself. If you do that, there is no avritti. Anavritti shabdat, anavritti shabdat. Beautiful. I had not seen this before. Nobody has told me this before. This is the end of this is the last verse, and it is repeated. So there's an interesting thing. There is an avritti of anavritti. So the avritti is repetition by two of them. That means for sure. That's what the avritti, in this case, grammar avritti. So anyway, coming back to our topic. Coming to our topic, if we examine our behavior, this is the topic. If we examine our behavior, we really don't know where we are going. We're wandering around. Swami Viditatmananda's example, which I have given you, I think he gave this to me about 20 years ago. And it just made so much sense to me. What he said was that suppose you have to catch a plane. So you know where you have to go. You have to go to the airport. And you try your best to find the easiest way to go to the airport. You find out where the traffic is. Should I take this freeway? Should I go that freeway? That we all do. Should we take the back roads? But your drishti is very clear that I do not want to miss the plane. I want to get there 2 hours ahead of time. And everything that you do is with respect to having a very fixed idea of where you should be. And you get into the car, you drive, and all of that. But suppose you buy a new car. Swamiji had given this beautiful example, very good example. You buy a new car, and you are taking your family for a ride. You just picked it up from the dealer. Everybody wants to see, oh, you bought a new car. Can we take a ride on it? Sure. Come sit down. If you have some adult sons, daughters, you can give it to them and say, okay, you drive. Where they go is not important, but it still has some principles, because you will go through safe places. Even if it's in fact more than that, if it's a new car, you don't go through some places where there's some crime-ridden thing, it's dark, the roads are really rough. No, you want to do that. You'll go to some very nice places. But it doesn't matter where you go. You turn left. Sure, turn left. Okay, then you go for half a mile, then you go into the town. Let's see how that is. Then you take a drive on the hills. Doesn't matter. There's no destination. So also our life. The destination is not clear. Not clear. So we choose, you know what we choose? This is exactly what happens. So we choose pleasant experiences of our life to guide us. See, for example, if you were to catch a flight, whether it's a pleasant experience or unpleasant experience almost doesn't matter. It would be nice if it's pleasant. I think that I was telling you this happened to my wife and I. This is several years back, or 15 years back. We were going nicely for San Francisco to catch and I was going to park at the parking lot. Uber was not available at that time. And all of a sudden on 101, there's a complete stoppage. Complete stoppage. And it was even at that time where you could not tell from GPS, how much traffic is there. I remember this so well. It was just a complete block. It was early in the morning. It was like 6:30 in the morning. But they are, sometimes they're doing construction. For whatever reason, they block it off. Freeway 101. And I waited for 5 minutes, waited for 10 minutes. Then I'm saying, oh my God, I may miss the flight. And so the next thing I did was the very first exit that came, I just took off on San Mateo. I remember that. And I went through the back roads and so on. We barely made it. So even if you know the destination, you don't really care about whether it is pleasant or unpleasant. You want to get there. This is a very important thing. That if one's understanding of where I'm going with myself is very clear, what happens in my life becomes secondary. Really becomes secondary. It'd be nice if everything works out for me, but if it doesn't, it's not a big deal. So therefore, it very clearly means that because of my behavior, the way I do things, I am just looking for pleasant experiences. I prefer pleasant experiences. Sukha instead of dukkha. That's what guides my life. Whereas what should guide my life is an unwavering idea of what I need to do, regardless of whether I have sukha or dukkha. This is what should happen, but it doesn't. So what that means is, okay, I understand what you're telling me. Where is it that we need to go? You tell me. You're saying that I don't know my destination. Okay, I understand that. You tell me what the destination is. How come nobody tells me what my destination is? Because I find everybody else, just like I'm wandering around in this maelstrom, kind of like a mela. Like in a mela, this is what happens. You go to these big gatherings on 4th of July or something, and you all go from one shop to the other. Sometimes people go from left to right, other people go from right to left. It's like going to the farmer's market. Everybody has their own ideas of where to wander around. Good, you can do that. So here we are all wandering around. The question is, who's going to tell us what the destination is? How am I going to find that out? The thing is, nobody has ever told me. Who can tell me? The most important people that could have told me are my mom and dad. They are also lost. They are also not telling us. So who am I going to find out from what the destination is? So what is now? We will go into the next stage next time. We won't have time today, but we will do that next time. Is destination tellers are available. You can tell. Now the question is, how do I find out? I find many people telling what the destination is. Many people. How do I know which one I should listen to? They all say the different things. Some say that if you just worship Ishvara, he will take you. You worship Ishvara. Don't, so you say, what about Vedanta and study? And so don't worry about Vedanta. And I'm just telling you, just throw yourself at the feet of Ishvara and he will guide you. He or she will guide you. Whether it is in this life or next life, it is not your worry. You just go do Sharanagati. Sharanam. Tvameva Sharanam. You are my refuge. Some people say that. Why don't you do that? So everybody has this slightly different idea. And then other people say, no, it's not any Ishvara. You have to follow a particular Ishvara. Muhammad. Christ. Buddha. Or Vishnu. You have to follow. It's not anyone. So you find everybody is following different destinations. There are some people who are saying, okay, I'll tell you what the destination is. You just follow me. So the question is, how am I going to select who to follow? Because now there are sayers of destination. First of all, there was no destination. My mother and father didn't do that. They also belonged to some sect or some religion. But I have to find on my own. You know, I find sometimes it's very interesting. I tell you, Ishvara is the one that really looks after you. There's hardly anyone else. If you are sincerely seeking, if you are a sincere seeker, you will find Ishvara leading you in the right direction, in the right direction. So I can tell you this. If I had stayed in India, see, my families, they follow, my mother followed Arya Samaj. This is the former Dayananda Saraswati. Very funny thing. I was once with one Swami Dayananda Saraswati, and now I shifted over to another Swami Dayananda Saraswati, same name, more than 100 years apart, with a big difference. Because Arya Samaj, as I discovered later, is totally different from Vedanta. But at that time I didn't know, and my mother was an Arya Samaji, and her entire family was from Arya Samaj. And if I had stayed in India, this is what I would have done. My father, his family, were followers of Radhaswami in Agra, the Radhaswami sect. And I know a little bit about both of them, and it's funny. It's not really, not Vedanta, not the truth. So if I had stayed there, I probably would have gone into one or the other. But what it was so beautiful for me was that I got away from it and I became a free thinker of my own. I started investigating. Vichara. And somehow or the other, I mean, it's not as though I'm smart or anything, but the right people came into my life. Swami Chinmanand came into my life, Swami Dayanandji came into life, and Swami Akhandananda. Those are the three people that I really... Now it just seems very clear. So now going back to the topic, the question is, how am I going to select who is going to show me what the destination is? So this we will go to the next topic next time. Perhaps we give too much time to this one topic, and I just wanted to give you, this is how we're going to approach that each of the topics, each of the tenets will be presented and some thoughts will be given to you. And now it's up to you. I've talked to you for the last 40 minutes or so. You don't have to do all of the details. You just do whatever you want to do, but you should understand what the basics of this tenet is. And then you write it down the best way you can. So anyway, going to the last point, how am I going to discuss or discover which person to listen to who will show me the vichara, the destination? So I won't go into the details because I will switch over. So the next one that we will do when we meet next week will be how Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta, qualifies as a true informer of your destination. How does it qualify? What is so unique about it? And whether you are able to discover that is a joint effort. It's available, but who do you get attracted to? Depends a lot upon where you are. You know, I mean, it's ultimately is our choice. It's your choice whether you want to study or you want to watch a movie, whether you want to introspect or you want to travel. All those choices are yours. So destinations and sources of destinations are available, but you have to be ready also. This is what they say, that once you are ready, the Guru will come to you. This is really what it means. So we will discuss that in some more detail. So because the destination is subtle, you miss it. Because we all miss it. We don't have to go anywhere. The destination is, the seeker is myself and the destination is also myself. This is a very funny situation, very subtle situation. And so for that, as Swami Akhandananda also points out, that if the goal is so subtle, doesn't the mind which has to grapple with this also have to be subtle? Of course. So this is again going back to the qualifications. If the mind is trivial, if it is coarse, not subtle, it's not going to develop the ability to see subtlety. Exactly like this, if you don't have an instrument which is comparable to the very fine quality, the very fine nature of particles, how are you going to look at atomic particles? Are you going to look at through your glasses? No, cannot be done. So you have to really fine-tune your instrument to be on a par with what you're looking for. So a lot of that really depends on your vichara. But if you are really sincere, so this is what Vedanta says, that in the beginning you don't have to be very subtle. But if you find that this is something which interests you, and you pray to Ishvara to make your mind more subtle, he will do that. So the improvement of your mind the sadhana for it can be by looking at the destination and feeling, yes, this seems real to me. This much you must do. And then the Shastra actually gives you the instructions very clearly. I remember this from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. You may have you've seen that. This is from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, chapter 2, section 4, verse number 5, 245. You all know this. Atma va are drashtavyaha shrotavyaha mantavyaha nididhyasitavyaha. He says, are means, oh dear, somebody that you really want to explain to someone who has come to you. This is what called are, atma va are, drashtavyaha, shrotavyaha, mantavyaha, nididhyasitavyaha. So here Swami Yogananda points out, the drashtavyaha is the destination. Lakshya. So this is an interesting thing. Please, you see the word Lakshya in the glossary, John's glossary. See if it is there. If not, then add to it. So Lakshya means where I need to go. It's called Lakshya, destination. That is given by the word Drashtavyaha. Why is it destination? Drashtavyaha means there is nothing to be done. There is something to be seen, something to understand. This is a very funny journey. When you wake up from your dream into your waking state, you don't go anywhere, but you go a long distance from one world to the other. Similarly, going from the waking state to Turiya, you don't go anywhere, but just your vision will take you to a completely different world. So therefore, Drashtavya is very accurately describing the destination. Because otherwise it will say Gantavya, it must be gone to. There is nothing to be, there is Gam Dhatu is not applicable. Going anywhere is not applicable here. Seeing something. So Drashtavya means Lakshya. Then Shrotavyaha, Mantavyaha, Nididhyasitavyaha are the sadhanas for this travel. Sadhanas for this travel. And in fact, this is what is called antaranga sadhana. Another word, I'm just giving you all these words, at least you can listen to it and then find it in the dictionary. Sadhana, of course, you know, means of, it's like means of travel. It's kind of like samagri. Samagri means all the instruments of travel. You cannot travel until you have the samagri. Samagri means all the wherewithal, like food. So you cannot go on mountain climbing until you have sweaters, boots, and water and food. So these are all the samagri, because otherwise you will not last. So this is what is called sadhana. And there are two kinds of sadhanas. I think we will discuss this maybe at a later time. So one is what is called antaranga sadhana, and the other one is bahiranga sadhana. So let's see the difference between them, and that's the last thing that I will do, and then we'll close the class. The bahiranga sadhana is what is called external instruments, and antaranga sadhanas are called internal instruments. Both have to be possessed. I must have them. Otherwise, my thinking will not be subtle enough. I cannot understand theorems. I can only understand there are two pens, and just like if I have my 1.5-year-old grandson, I will discuss that with him. Arjun, how many pens are there? Oh, he'll probably say 2 or something. I'll say, okay, I'm taking one away. How many are left? You have to think about it. Okay, 1, 2, 1 is left. Okay, I'm putting it back. Now there are 2. He can understand that. But if I say, give me 5 minus 7 multiplied by so on, divided by so on, so he'll say, well, what are you talking about? I don't understand this. So this is exactly what is called Tattvamasi. In Tattvamasi, Swami Khanananda says, Tattvamasi, the padarthas are supposed to be known before you do the vakyartha. Beautiful example. He says that supposing you say, bring me, supposing you have a friend from China, and he's a friend, you're sitting there, and he says, can you please hand me over this kitab? Yeah, I don't know why you would say that to a child. This is interesting. My mother-in-law, she's fluent in both Punjabi and in Hindi. And she's a Punjabi, of course. And of course, my wife and I now speak Hindi. We can speak Punjabi, but we are much more fluent in Hindi. So my mother-in-law comes, he speaks to us in Hindi, but she talks to her son in Firozpur on the phone. She talks to him in Punjabi. So now when after finishing up her phone call, she talks to us, she starts talking in Punjabi because it is still, she is not used to doing it. And she enjoys that. So supposing I tell somebody, my Asian friend, can you bring me a kitab? And I'm on the phone. Supposing I'm on the phone, and I say, can you please bring me the kitab? And there are a number of things sitting there. One of them is a kitab, which is a book. Another one is the glasses. So she gives me the glasses, and I say, no, I want kitab. So here's a situation where she understands the sentence, please bring me this. She understands that, my friend, Asian friend. But she doesn't understand what kitab is. So padartha is not known. Vakyartha, how can it be known? So Swamiji says Tattvamasi is exactly like this. Tattvamasi means you are that. So here, the meaning of the word you is also not known. You know, as Keshav was saying, give me the deeper meaning of Manushya. So Manushya, you know, you say, if I say you think I'm talking about Manushya, a Jiva. That's not what you is. So that means that you don't understand the word you. You don't even understand the word you, let alone the word that. This is totally not known. At least you can tell, oh, this is me. But that is not known at all. Other than that, you know the sentence very well. You don't know the two important words, but other than that, the sentence you can understand. It's like saying, please bring me this kitab. So the sentence, she already, she says, oh, poor guy is on the phone, I better give it to him. She understands the sentence, but does the wrong thing because she doesn't understand what kitab is. So in the Tattvamasi also, it has to be known exactly what we are talking about. What is you? What is that? And if that is known, done. So, going back to this, Are Atma va Are Drashtavya, Shrotavya, Smantavya, Nididhyasitavya. There are two types of sadhanas that equip me to know the words. One is Bahiranga sadhana and the other one is Antaranga sadhana. Bahiranga sadhana is sadhana chatushtaya. Viveka, Vairagya, Shatka Sampatti and Mumukshutvam. So I won't go into, and this is what I was saying, that all of this is very basic stuff that you already know. So if you were to develop a book, which you should be developing a book, you can pick up the definition and the explanation of these sadhanas from there. You can easily, you know this, and if not, you know where to look. You can do that. What is Viveka? What is Vairagya? What is Shatka Sampatti? Shama, Dhamma, Uparama, Titiksha, Shraddha, Samadhanam, and then Mumukshutvam. This is called Bahiranga Sadhana. Antaranga Sadhana is Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. So put that in your book. I won't discuss it any further. This is all not done. I'll come spiritual. This is what is called the samagri for the journey. But the ending point is we must know where we are going. If you don't know, and we don't know, don't keep on saying, I know, I know, I know. You cannot say, oh, I'm doing self-study. The self-knowledge. Who is the self? Do you know? Oh, you know the Atma and so on. Yes. How clearly do you know it? Oh, I've heard of you. That's not it. It has to be a very clear idea of who you are. This is what we're going to be doing. Once you do that, then the completeness of that with respect to Tat also becomes, so the Tattvamasi will become very clear at that time. Until then, you don't know the words, you don't know where it is pointing out, where it is pointing to. So, to close off this topic, which we started earlier, that A conduct of our life without a destination is meaningless. It becomes meaningful. All of a sudden, the whole thing starts to have a different meaning once the destination is known. Now the question is, who is going to tell me the destination? So the next topic that we will study is why Advaita Vedanta qualifies as the informer of the destination. This itself is a very important topic, and we will take up that next time. So now I've sort of expanded the scope of this whole thing. I don't know, I wasn't planning to do that. It just kind of morphed into it, and I hope you're okay with it. The second class on Saturday on the Mandukya Karika will stay at a advanced level. So the objective of the Tuesday class will be completeness and comprehensiveness, and Saturday class will be following a given text at a high level. This is the way I'm thinking about it. I hope Ishvara will help me to achieve these objectives. Om Asatoma Satkamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Well, let me see if you have any more questions. I have to redo this. Somehow it is stopped. YouTube live. Okay, stop. All right, Jen was the only one who says many questions, but we'll let the information settle in. All right. I don't see any others, so I'll take your leave. And do send me if you have any questions by email. I try to reply to emails. Otherwise, I'll see you next week. Okay. Hari Om.